Come seeker, come traveler, come all humankind, online or in person, whomever you love.
Come and be welcome at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cheyenne. Here we are building a community of refuge where all have equal worth and are invited into spiritual exploration as a foundation for hope, compassionate action, compassionate service, and I'd say compassionate action too.
This is a place where questions are encouraged, a place with room for all of who you are.
This is a place full of works and progress, a place for being human together.
Welcome. It's good to be here.
Settle in. Take a big breath in and let something go from your week. This is a time for community.
And to begin this Sunday, we want to welcome our guest pastor here this morning, Reverend Terry Swartz. She is a UU minister and founder of Spirit and Strategy, a pastoral care, coaching, and consulting practice, and currently serves as the worship minister of the Juneau UU Fellowship. Formerly, she served as senior co-minister of First Unitarian Church of Chicago, along with her husband and colleague, our Reverend David Swartz. As a clergy couple and partners in crime, the Swartzes mostly stay out of trouble by staying in the church. A graduate of Harvard Divinity School and Brown University, she has formerly served as a chaplain in hospitals, palliative care, hospice, and the UU's seminarians. She lives in Longmont with David, their two kids, ages 16 and 13, a giant 170-pound St. Bernard dog, but it's really their three cats that run that household. So we welcome Terry, Reverend Terry, today there. And Jed, it's up to you then.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jedediah Huntsinger. If you don't know me, I am the administrator here at the church, and I'd like to welcome you to this church where we are on a shared journey to find meaning, connection, and community together. If you are new to us, please feel welcome to fill out a blue welcome card and drop it in the offering basket as it passes, so that we can share information about our activities and help you find what nourishes your spirit here. Note cards, also in your pew, are available to write your joys and sorrows for the pastoral prayer. We pass an additional basket during the offering to gather these. Write your name or be anonymous. You can also write "do not share" if you have something you would like held in care by our worship leader and pastoral care team, but not spoken aloud in prayer. Many activities and events happen each week in this community. Here are a few coming up soon. Today is faith development class for 5 to 12-year-olds downstairs following service at 11 a.m. Snacks provided. Our Earth Day event is coming up, and it is promising to be huge. The times in your printed order of service are wrong. That was my fault. The times are from 2 to 9 p.m. both days. So come, it'll be fun. So we do still need volunteers. If you're looking to maybe just donate something, we still need veggie trays, fruit trays, and juice for both days for the expo. We are also needing some volunteers for seed plantings, trash collecting, and the art activities that we have planned. So if you want to volunteer time instead to set up, do things, please come. We'd love the help. You can see me after service. If you're not sure who to go to, I can direct you in the right place for what you might be interested in. And then the last thing from me is if you'd like to share Easter dinner with the church, please come. There's sign-up sheets for a food potluck in the social hall. And then I'm going to bring up Lauren for a quick note. And yeah.
It's coming, 2 weeks. We're going to have community fair again this year. We'll be in touch with all of you program leaders to tell you about what you need to be doing, and everyone else. It will be in the social hall during coffee hour on the 27th.
All righty, thank you, Lauren. So now moving on, we gather in person and on Zoom each week, giving from our resources to sustain the work of this church and share our abundance with community organizations, broadening the reach of our values. You can find the text to give number and QR code in your order of service, or use your Realm app for electronic giving, or your Share the Plate offerings and pledges may also be dropped in the basket in a few moments as they pass. Today, this month, our Share the Plate partner is the Cheyenne Animal Shelter. Please welcome Brittany Tennant to tell you a little bit about their work.
Good morning, everyone. I think I know most of you, so it's nice to see you and say hello and be here with old friends and new. I think this is the first time that I've been a member of this congregation that the Cheyenne Animal Shelter has been a Share the Plate partner, so I just really want to thank all of you for whoever nominated our organization and for selecting us for this opportunity. I'm not going to take my 3 minutes today to tell you about the animal shelter because I think that people have a pretty good idea of what it is that we do there, at least from a distance. What I want to do today instead is give you a close-up picture of what that looks like. So I'm just going to share with you a story from yesterday at the animal shelter. In addition to our normal daily activities and operations, yesterday we hosted a free public spay and neuter clinic, and we spayed and neutered 46 animals for free from our community. Yeah, it's really great. Thank you. And I think, it's getting a little cliche, it seems 70 years into our movement to say spay and neuter your pets, but let me just take a segue and tell you that it's very important still that you spay and neuter your pets. It took us about an hour to get all of those animals checked in and sent back to our clinic to be ready to get prepped for surgery. And it was just starting to quiet down for the morning when a woman walked a dog into the shelter without a leash or a collar, and the dog was in obvious medical distress. I suspect that this dog belonged to this woman, but she was probably without any resources to do anything for the animal in that circumstance. So she elected to tell us that the dog was a stray, and she found it and brought it to us to get care. She didn't leave any information. She didn't leave the pet's name, nothing. So she left, And we began to attend to this dog, who is obviously a senior dog. She was probably a pit bull terrier mix of some kind. She had a very nice gray face. She's probably 15 years old. Very cloudy gray eyes, super sweet, evidence of having had multiple litters of puppies in her life. And she was massively hemorrhaging from her vulva. Her abdomen was distended and rigid. So we pulled one of our surgeons out of our surgery suite to attend to this emergency case and found that the dog had a ruptured tumor in her vaginal canal, and also that she had a big cancerous tumor in her abdomen that was also bleeding and leading to that distension. So there's obviously nothing that we can do for an animal in this case, in this condition. But what I will tell you is that for the rest of the day, the 20-plus volunteers and staff at our animal shelter shared all of the spay day snacks with this dog. She got donuts and breakfast burritos and lunchtime sandwiches and pizza. And at the end of the night, after we sent everybody home and it was quiet again in the shelter, our staff stayed late, despite the fact that we have no overtime budget for them. And they gave her a soft place to lay down in and a lap to lay her head in and a name. And we called her Sugar. And I thought she deserved to be remembered today. Thank you.
Gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek you find a kindly word. May all who speak you feel they have been heard. Sing out together this our heart goes Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our lifetime, matter small and great. Of all ages, women, children, men, infants and sages, sharing what we can see.
Thank you so much for the generosity of this giving here for our community and beyond our walls.
It is our journey together by the Reverend Deborah Hafner. We are on a journey. We didn't plan it. We didn't have time for the bread to rise. We may find ourselves in the wilderness hungry, thirsty, doubting that we ever should have come. But look around. We are not alone. It is our journey together, a journey to our better selves, a journey to a better world, a journey to a more promised land. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 159 in your silver hymnal, 159.
Today's chalice lighting is entitled "We Light the Flame" by the Reverend Dillman Baker Sorrells. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to plan for our future, and to be alive in our present, we light this flame. Now, if the young or young at heart wish to join us here on the chancel, we invite you to share the leadership of speaking our covenant in unison before our time for all ages. And I see some young people. Come. And we begin with that special word, love is the spirit of this church, and service is cause. This is our covenant, to grow together in peace, to seek truth, and to help others.
This is very exciting. And now everyone's paying attention. Well, good morning. I am Reverend Terry, and it is nice to meet you. What is your name?
Jack,
Jack?
Olive,
Olive?
Arlo.
Arlen?
No, Arlo.
Arlo. Very nice to meet you as well.
Iris.
Iris, I am so glad that you're here today. So I have a little bag of tricks. Can I have a volunteer? Me. Okay, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for volunteering. If you would get my surprise behind the lectern. It's on the floor. Yep, bring the whole thing. Perfect. All right, what is this?
Bag.
It is a bag, and what do you see around it? Tools, yes, it's a bag of tools. You put all your tools in a bag or a box. I have a bag. Why would we use a bag or a box to hold our tools?
Because so they don't get in the way.
So they don't get in the way, great, especially when you're working, safety first,
They don't hurt anything.
and that they don't hurt anyone. Anyone else? Yes.
And then no one grabs it.
So no one grabs it? Yes, some tools, very valuable.
One of Dad's.
No? Well, it helps to keep them all in one place. Because when you start a project, you don't always know exactly what tools you're going to need. And so it's good to have them all right at hand. Now, that's for physical projects, but our minds and spirits and emotions sometimes need support being fixed up, patched up, or shored up so that we can get through really hard times. And so today, we are going to make an emotional toolbox. What are some of the things you guys do if you're feeling kind of upset?
I don't know.
Did you have something you want to share? I couldn't hear
Be
you.
alone.
Time to yourself. Take some time to yourself. Anyone out in the congregation? Things you do. Just shout it out.
Read a book.
Read a book. Talk with a friend. Make some good food. Yes, and I want chocolate to be involved, please. Listen to music. Take a walk. Okay. Well, here, oh my goodness. See, I need a bag to keep them all together. There are emotional tools in here on pieces of paper. Could you each come and take one out? And we can skip it if someone's already said it. And you can read it or you can pass it to me to read. Sure. Create a small altar or sacred space at home. Oh, this was like kind of similar. Sit with someone in silence.
Play a game or do a puzzle.
Play a game or do a puzzle. Minister. That's your Reverend Elizabeth. ABC? Yeah, okay. Now, don't you all worry, because I have a take-home emotional toolbox for you. So if you've missed any of this, you have your own resources. Sit outside under the stars or by a tree. Look, there's so many. There's no end to what you can create. Repeat a favorite mantra or affirmation. Hold something that makes you feel comfortable, like a stuffed animal, a blanket, a worry stone. So, why do you think we put all of our emotional tools on a list or in one place? To keep them all together, just like our physical toolbox. Is the mic still on? Okay. I had the too many MCs, not enough mics, and I was trying to be like, too many mics, not enough working. Okay. So that we keep them all together because we don't know what tool we're going to need in that moment and what's going to feel good. And sometimes the toolbox we have may not have what we need. We may be trying to cut down a tree with a tiny little saw, and what we need is a chainsaw. So sometimes you can't find things and you need to borrow or ask someone for help. So sometimes for all of us, going to talk with our minister or a therapist or a teacher or a good friend, someone you trust, you can kind of see what tools they have. They may have ones we've never used before. Sometimes they could lend us theirs too. So as you go forward into the week, remember that if you feel sometimes when things are really hard, like I'm never going to get through this, whether that's 4 or 8 years or the day or a minute, there are some tools that can help and may help by a millimeter, may help by a mile, but there's always people who care and will help you. So I have one last job for you. If you could pass these out. All right, well, I'll give them to everybody. And then that way it'll go zim, zam, zoom. All right, some for you to pass out. Some for you to pass out. And some for each of you. So, thank you so much. I think I got all my tools. Thank you, everybody. Can you all hear me now? Okay. I want one of the things I love about those kinds of emotional toolkits. It reminds us that everyone uses and needs them. It's not a sign of weakness, but really of strength. Now, will you join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation? Spirit of life and love, we gather to be with one another, hoping to support each other as a comfort in hard times, to celebrate our joyful and happy moments, to dwell together in the wonder and mystery of this magnificent and ever-changing life. Meg says a new book is out on Monday, a fantasy romance. This is book number 44. We've got avid readers here. Excellent, enjoy. Andy asked for prayers for physical and mental health and wellness while dealing with healing from a knee injury and navigating living life with extreme grief. Andy, we hold you in our hearts. As we think of the needs of those in our community and those needs and joys and concerns that sit in each of our hearts, we also acknowledge the springtime of nature outdoors and a time for planting, of warming up, coming out from dormancy. That time is upon us. And may we give thanks for the ever-changing earth and hold room in our hearts for all those joys yet unshared and all the sorrows too tender to be spoken aloud. May we find in this space peace, comfort, and community that enfolds us. Amen and blessed be. I invite you to join in our pastoral reflection hymn and remain seated to have a contemplative experience when we join together in song. In your teal hymnal 1002, 1002, Comfort Me.
Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for my soul. Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with my soul. Dance dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Come for me, come for me, come for me, my soul. Come for me, come for me, come for me, oh my soul. Come for me, oh my soul.
Today's sacred message is entitled "In the Midst of Powerlessness" by the Reverend Mike Johnson. In the Christian tradition, in the Thursday of Holy Week, the day before Good Friday, it's called Maundy Thursday. On that day, many churches and communities practice a foot washing. Typically, the priest or minister washes the feet of their congregants, imitating the narrative of Jesus practicing the humility of washing his disciples' feet. It's a ritual that reflects the instruction to love one another. I awaken tonight with pain in my heart for all that's happening in our country, and I feel utterly powerless. I've been an activist most of my life, and I believed and hoped that activism might help to change the world for the better. In some ways it has, but the dream of a whole society rooted in cooperation and mutuality and care for all of its people feels lost in a nightmare of empire that's re-emerging like a multi-headed dragon from the flames of disaster. How can we respond to a reign of terror? How can we respond to cruelty after cruelty promulgated by people in power? In my feelings of powerlessness, an old friend comes to me. Jesus comforts me by reminding me that in many ways I am powerless. I can't control what my government is doing right now. The idea my government is an illusion. Democracy itself has become an illusion, a thin veneer over oligarchy and fascism. Jesus had no political power. He lived his whole life in the shadow of the Roman Empire, and that empire killed him. Yet he was able to respond, to act. Jesus prayed, he taught, he healed the sick, he listened, he lived among the ordinary people in the lowly places. He didn't concern himself very often with the emperor or king or governor. He was clear that those powers were evil. Rather, he went directly to the poor, the oppressed, the sick, those that were the ones who caught his eye of the divine blessing. And later, he offered this measure by which all people were judged. I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Whatsoever you do for the least of these, my relatives, you do for me. There is a certain clarity in all of this. And so I pray, O Holy One, you are with us in the midst of our powerlessness, helping to help us to let go of what we cannot control. Help us to shift our focus to what is possible, to what really matters. Bless those heroes who are risking their lives right now to look after the sick, to bring food to the hungry. Help us to seek your presence among those considered the least among us. And may it be so. Amen. And now, if we would turn to number 111 in the teal book for Return Again, and we'll sing that together. Yeah. 1011, I'm sorry, 1011 in the teal book. For our core reading today is entitled All You Can Do by the Reverend Gretchen Haley. All you can do is to walk into Jerusalem with the hosannas ringing in your ears and the palms coming at you in every direction, without remembering the bitter of what comes next. Even then, all you have is the moving forward into the city and the call that says, you've been preparing this for your whole life, that every good thing will come undone, did not make it all make-believe. And when the world turns upside down and lovers become strangers and thieves become betrayers, turn out to be the beloveds beside you in the dark, even when when the palms turn to passion, even then, you can still throw your arms wide open and turn forgiveness over and over on your tongue until it falls out. And you find yourself empty of everything for a moment until the breath begins again, the rise, the fall, and the next morning comes gloriously steadied with life.
A heavy heart. As of this month, the death toll in Gaza passed 61,700 people, which is nearly the population of all of Cheyenne. The majority, women and children. A heavy heart. 115 million Americans of all ages, that's 1 in 3 people, do not have meaningful access to health care. A heavy heart. The last 12 months were the hottest year on record on the planet. 150 unprecedented climate disasters. 3,700 people died and over 800,000 were displaced. A heavy heart. Reproductive rights have been increasingly and severely restricted since the overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022. 14 states have banned abortion, 6 states have significantly restricted abortion care, and approximately 76 million people, 23% of the U.S. population, are people who can become pregnant, likely will not be able to access this care when they need it, despite the guidance of the World Health Organization. A heavy heart. In just the last year, record-breaking 691 anti-trans bills were introduced across 43 states. 52 of those bills have been enacted into law, banning or restricting access to gender-affirming health care, restrictions on discussion in education and public schools about gender identity, restrictions on government-issued IDs, and restriction to simply be able to use the bathroom. A heavy heart. Library censorship of LGBTQ content in school libraries here in Cheyenne, part of a broader national movement, and so much more. And I haven't even mentioned the price of eggs. The Greek statesman Solon said, myth is not about something that never happens. It is about something that happens over and over again. In the Christian and Jewish traditions, we are in the season of telling stories. Stories that happen over and over again. Plagues, the death of innocents, betrayal, loss, freedom, renewal, love, hard-won hope, and victory, at least for a time. They're stories we learn, they're stories we live, and stories we live through. And each year we pass through this moment on the wheel of the year. We see the story and our place in it slightly differently. Last night, the Jewish festival of Passover began. The Hebrew word magid means to tell the story. It is the same word root as the word Haggadah. The Haggadah is the book that is read at the Seder dinner, like the order of service, but if you had the full script. It is weighty, yet joyous, retelling of the story of Exodus, in prayer, story, song, and symbolic food. Think like springtime Thanksgiving for food if you haven't been to a Seder. In the Seder, we don't just retell the story of the Israelites' exodus from slavery, we come to see ourselves in the story. And so when we remember, we become. Egypt was known as Mitzrayim, with the Hebrew word that means the narrow place, the place that squeezes the breath out. And how fitting for this time. No place is always Mitzrayim, but any place, even our own, can become Mitzrayim. I know you've been there, especially now in the time of heavy hearts. The Pharaoh's heart too was heavy, but not with heartbreak nor compassion, but kaved, heavy, closed off, impervious, resistant, immovable. The Israelites were slaves making bricks in the hot sun for Pharaoh's buildings. Now Moses, the divinely appointed union negotiator, asked for freedom. In response, Pharaoh, head of state, his heart kaved, ordered the taskmasters to no longer provide straw for the Israelites to make brick, Now they were to both gather the straw and make just as many bricks as before, or be subject to torture. The Pharaoh's heart was stiffened, hardened. The text says this 20 times. He became unresponsive to reason, incapable of compassion, just like a head of state that comes to mind for me. The Haggadah reminds us Egypt was destroyed because it showed no concern for human beings. So, any nation that mistreats its people and does not care about human suffering will eventually be destroyed, if even by its own doing. A nation that doesn't provide basic human rights for health care, food, water, housing, that pays the palace of the Pharaoh with not only the borrowed wages of the worker, but their lives. Any nation cannot long stand, including our own. So the traditional plagues that were visited upon the Egyptians were blood, frogs, lice, wild beasts, cattle disease, boils, hail, locusts, and darkness. That is a hell of a set of plagues, and when we talk about climate change as like biblical, this is the kind of thing we're referring to. But the Pharaoh really, I almost swore, didn't really care. He was not moved. His heart heavy, kaved, immovable until the last plague. He had no F's to give. The 10th and final plague, this one always horrified and perplexed me, especially on a holiday, the slaying of the firstborn. What kind of hell story do we tell with this? From the Pharaoh to the Egyptian slave girl, animals of veneration, beasts of burden, no one would be spared. The slaying of the firstborn does not discriminate between race, class, or education, and nor does war, illness, or climate catastrophe. And there's an impulse in that story to run from that moment and from this one. Let's just flip a few pages to when the story gets to be pleasant again. But we are commanded to tell the whole story. It was only by this plague that came to his own son in his own home did the Pharaoh, who thought himself God, let the Israelites go. It was only by that plague that the people went free. That plague, the slaying of the firstborn, was to happen in the dark of the night. The Talmud, which is a commentary on Jewish scripture, says, "And not one of you shall leave the threshold of your house until morning." So the Israelites were instructed to be under stay-at-home orders while the angel of death traveled from house to house. Not all that different from 2020. Before that night, the Israelites were instructed to sacrifice a lamb. They were to roast it, eat it, mark the doorpost with blood so that the angel of death would pass over their homes as they remained quarantined inside. Death would pass over, Pesah, the root of our English word Paschal. But Pesah also means this, to have compassion, to protect. Their sacrifice would protect them. So there's the next part of the story that never made sense to me. How does the angel of death need to know who's who? Wouldn't the angel of death of anyone already have this knowledge and intel? Who's slave, who's free, who's rich and poor, who's Egyptian and Israelite? Death also had no F's to give. But perhaps there is wisdom in this. Death is blind. Death knows no distinction of class or race or subjugation or occupation. It's an equal opportunity employer with whom we each have an appointment, even if we don't yet know the time. So the Israelites were to mark their doorposts so that the angel of death would pass over. One Jewish commentary suggests they were to mark the doorposts on the inside. By marking their doors, they knew who they were. They remembered to stay inside. It was the safest place to be. They were a people waiting for the moment to break free of their bondage, to make haste, and to grab the bread from the oven before it had time to rise. Mark your hearts. Mark your doors so you remember who you are. Now, fast forward 1,500 years. Now, Passover has been celebrated, the story I just shared, for 60 generations. And Jerusalem is occupied and ruled by the Romans. This is that point in the movie where you just jump a lot forward in time. The Romans had appointed local Jewish authorities to rule over their own jurisdictions. Now, this was a very interesting double bind. They must demonstrate to the Roman rulers that they can control and govern their own people, or they risk losing the ability to rule their people at all. And so, do they rule according to the wishes and needs of their people, or to the wishes and needs of the Romans who can take away their power? This is a wicked question for which there really was no good answer. And not unlike today, occasionally power begets corruption, and often the powerful benefit while the poor are left with little, and so was the case then. So it was those powerful Jews who were actually a teeny tiny fraction majority, like let's say the 1% is what we'd call them, who were in smoke-filled rooms with the Romans, and it was those Jews that Jesus was protesting, Jesus himself, a Jew and rabbi. And here's what we know about the historical Jesus. Very interesting. He was a manual laborer, a carpenter. He was born to undocumented immigrants, to an unwed teenage mother. He escaped attempted genocide. He did not settle down to have a respectable career, but instead became an itinerant rabbi promoting free healthcare, especially for women. He wandered around with the outcasts of society, and he started community organizing, the original one-on-one conversations. And that is how the March on Washington happened, starting one-on-one conversations. So he built a similarly powerful network of poor people, tax collectors, sex workers, everyone who was outside the lines. Now, organizing networks of poor people and questioning ruling powers is not a recipe for personal safety nor social stability, then or now. And yet some things in our world, people of goodwill must be maladjusted. The tension between Jesus and his followers and the powers that be grew and grew and grew. The Jews who ruled their people had to demonstrate they could keep order, or they would lose the tiny bit of self-determination that they had under Roman rule. So the time for Passover festival had come, and everyone is supposed to journey to Jerusalem to celebrate at the temple. So think March on Washington size. Jesus was one of them. And so we arrive today at Palm Sunday. In Luke's version of the story, he says Jesus approaches Jerusalem and he looks over the city and he weeps. He weeps. It could have gone differently. The rulers could have been just. There could have been enough for everyone. So comes up with an idea. He enters Jerusalem on a donkey. He rides the donkey to reference a scripture from the prophet Zechariah. Now think of this like he was playing with a pop culture reference that everyone would get on Saturday Night Live. He rides on a donkey to get political. He is not a Roman warrior returning victorious on a war horse. He is parodying them, imitating them. He's a homeless community organizer. The pairing is just absurd. The crowds get it. They play along. They lay down their palm leaves and their cloaks as one would do for royalty. This is what you do when war heroes come to town. The people were lampooning the Roman rulers. So think of this day, Palm Sunday, a lot less like an Anglican church procession that's very boring, although you may find it boring, and more like Occupy Wall Street. All at once, the poor, ready to celebrate a festival of freedom, mock the ruling class. They mock the Romans, and they mock the Jews in power who are appointed by the Romans. This man, they say, this man said our lives matter. is smart. He knows what's coming. He rides into Jerusalem like Dr. King checks into the Lorraine Motel. The exact moment might not be known, but the danger is unmistakable. At 33, he was a wanted man. He gets off his donkey and he walks towards Good Friday. He walks to an upper room before that day and he celebrates Passover with his friends. He loved eating. He loved feasts and he loved wine. He liked pleasure. This is someone you actually want at your party, despite everything the last 2,000 years of the church has said. So he goes to an upper room and he celebrates Passover with his friends. He's betrayed in the night. The next day, he is executed by the state on Good Friday. Myth is not about something that never happened. It's about something that happens over and over again. Good Friday, the death of innocence, exploitation by the powerful, the inescapability of suffering, the certainty of death, and the sorrow of loss. There is an impulse to run from that moment and from this one. Let us weep for our world with compassion. Our hearts are heavy, kaved, but may they not be closed like stone. And tell the story, that is the commandment, the whole story, uncensored. Tell the stories that are banned in the libraries. And tell the stories of those people who cannot tell it for themselves. Megiddo. We are commanded, Megiddo, to tell the story of liberation, of Exodus, as if we are a part of it, as if it is not someone else's story, but our own, because ultimately it is. In this spirit, we are the participants in the Exodus. And we have not just been freed from, but we have been freed for. It is said, whoever enlarges the story of the Exodus is praiseworthy. We will not get to the promised land of our personal journeys or our country without passing first through a desert. And we will not get to Easter morning without passing first through Good Friday. I just hope it's 4 years and not 8. But I can say this. Good Friday is never the end of the story. We know not if or when our people, our society, our world, ourselves will come out the other side, and some of us will not make it through. But know this, there is always another side. There is always spring. There is always rebirth. There is always Easter, even if we not know the day on the calendar nor the hour. Hold your hearts tenderly. Weep for the world. And tell the story. And that is how we are given the Paschal blessing of compassion. And may you know these Paschal blessings too. May you be protected. May this pass over you. May the sacrifices you make now mark the doors to your heart so you remember who you are and who you are for. We may always be walking toward Good Friday, especially this week, but it has never been the end of the story, and it never will be, even this week. May it be so, and amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our sung response number 6 in your silver blue hymnals, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Just as long
We extinguish our chalice at this point, so together the words are in your service there. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry within our hearts until we are together again. And now, as our young people and our children prepare to go out for a special day, we need to sing them out and worship them out there. So, okay. Children, remember as you go the lessons we have learned together, to seek the light of truth, to tend the fire of caring, always returning to the warmth of this community. And there should be the little
Carrier of the light.
carrier of the light.
Just extinguished it. We're going to light this again.
Should be
That should be
a
a-
electric one.
Yeah, there's a little one.
Here we go. Hold on.
Oh,
This
no,
is what
it's
she
right here.
carries.
There it is.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah, forgot about that one.
smart.
There you are. Yay.
People with like great faith if you're carrying that around. We'll keep this short and sweet. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go forth and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's so beautiful. But you have the fabulous voice.
Thank you.
I'm kind of baritonish, but sometimes I get a little bass.
Yeah. Oh, it's a
So
real
very
pleasure.
special, and the words you said, and the message was beautiful. Appreciate it so much.
It's one of my favorite Sundays to preach because I think this story is so like old and stale.
Yeah.
And often if you only have a foot in one of those traditions, like it doesn't all hang together.
That's, yeah.
So I love kind of making it come alive, you know? It's like it is what's happening right now.